Megan thought it was a wrong number. A text, out of nowhere, telling her to be at the most expensive restaurant in the city tomorrow night, dressed to impress, for a blind date she never agreed to. She almost deleted it. She almost walked away from a night that would change her entire life. But she didn't. And what happened next would turn a cool joke into something nobody saw coming. Megan Reed was a waitress. Every day. Double shift at a diner. Barely enough left over after the bills to breathe. 3 years earlier, she'd been a college student with a future, until her mother got sick and Megan walked away from a degree to take care of her. Now the medical bills were still piling up on her kitchen desk, even with her mother in remission. So when that text came through, Lorenzo's 8 o'clock, wear something nice, her first instinct was to ignore it. Then came the second message. This is Jessica, from college. Trust me, you'll want to be there. Megan's stomach dropped. Jessica Taylor, the girl who had made Megan's 2 years at Westlake a living nightmare. The rumors, the humiliation, the cruelty dressed up as friendship. And now, years later, she was reaching out again. Why? Megan told her best friend at the diner, an older waitress named Darla who'd taken her under her wing years before. Darla didn't trust it for a second. That place irons and napkins twice. Honey, she warned. But Megan kept staring at the messes at night in her tiny apartment, surrounded by unpaid bills. A free dinner at the most expensive restaurant in town wasn't something she could just walk away from. Not when every dollar mattered this much. Against her better judgment, she said yes. She had one black dress, thrift, and her grandmother's pearl necklace. It would have to be enough. When she arrived at a restaurant, every eye in the room seemed to land on her, judging, pitying, sizing her up. She was led to a private table in the back, where a man was waiting. Dark hair, sharp jaw, a suit that cost more than her car. When he looked up at her, something flickered across his face. Recognition, almost, like he already knew her. You must be Megan, he said. I'm Jack Harrington. Megan froze. Everyone knew that name. Jack Harrington, CEO of one of the biggest sustainable energy companies in the country, the kind of man whose face showed up in magazines she only glanced at between refilling coffee cups. And he was sitting across from her, looking at her like she was the only person in the room. But just minutes into dinner, Megan's phone buzzed under the table. A message from Jessica. A photo, Jessica and her friends at a nearby bar, champagne raised, laughing. Surprise! Hope you don't mind being tonight's entertainment. We have a bet going on how fast he runs. It wasn't a date. It was a setup, a front-row show, built entirely to humiliate her, and Jack was a punchline she never agreed to be part of. Megan's hand shook. She wanted to disappear. But when she handed Jack the phone and watched his face change, the anger in his eyes wasn't pointed at her. It was pointed at Jessica. Don't give them what they want, he said quietly. And then he smiled, the kind of smile that meant trouble. Let's give them a show they never saw coming. For the first time all night, Megan laughed. What followed was nothing like Megan expected. Jack ordered a bottle of wine without even glancing at the menu, then quietly arranged something non-alcoholic when she mentioned she didn't really drink. No judgment, no fuss, just attention. He asked about her life and actually listened. Not the polished, rehearsed version, the real one. The diner, the transcription work she did at night to make ends meet. Her mother's illness, the degree she never finished. And when she asked about him, really asked, Jack surprised her too. Yale, Stanford, a company worth billions. But none of that was a real story, he said. The real story was a father who worked 3 jobs, a sister he adored, a company built because he actually believed sustainable energy could change the world. The money, he said, was just something that happened along the way. You'll forgive me, Megan said dryly, if I don't feel too sorry for a billionaire's dating problems. Jack laughed, a real laugh, loud enough to turn heads. Fair enough, he said, but loneliness feels the same no matter your tax bracket. Something about that honesty cracked something open in her. By the time the appetizers arrived, dishes she'd never even heard of, Megan had stopped performing. She wasn't trying to survive the night anymore. She was actually enjoying it. And across the restaurant, at the bar, Jessica and her friends were watching, waiting for the humiliation they promised each other. Instead, they saw Megan laughing, leaning in, glowing. Jack saw them too, and instead of looking away, he reached across the table and took Megan's hand. Let them watch, he said. The touch sent something through Megan she wasn't prepared for. You know what's strange? Jack said, studying her face. I feel like I've met you before. Megan shook her head. Impossible. She told him a waitress's salary didn't exactly buy plane tickets to wherever men like him spent their time. But Jack couldn't shake the feeling. Something about her face. Something familiar. He was still searching for the answer when the doors of the restaurant burst open, and his mother walked in, frantic, mid-crisis over a business deal falling apart. But the moment she saw Megan, every word died in her throat. My God, she whispered. It's uncanny. Jack turned to look at Megan like he was seeing her for the very first time. Who's Catherine? Megan asked, a cold feeling creeping up her spine. Catherine was my wife, Jack said quietly. She died 5 years ago. The table went silent. Megan sat frozen as the weight of it landed. She looked like his dead wife. That was a resemblance his mother saw. That was a familiarity that had been nagging at Jack all night. Suddenly, the whole magical evening felt like something else entirely, something built on a ghost, not on her. But Jack's mother, Eleanor, didn't pull away. She sat down, and as the dinner continued, the resemblance faded into the background, replaced by something else, genuine curiosity. Eleanor pressed Megan about her unfinished degree, about her plans, about her future, until Megan, exhausted and raw, finally snapped back with the truth. Night classes she couldn't afford, loans that would take 20 years to pay off, a future she'd stopped letting herself imagine. She immediately regretted her tone, but Eleanor just smiled. No need to apologize for speaking honestly, she said. She has spine. I like that. For a moment, it felt like the night might actually end well. Then Jessica found them on the garden terrace. Drunk, furious, and humiliated that a plan had backfired, Jessica unleashed everything she had. Megan's poverty, her unfinished degree, her mother's illness, all of it weaponized in front of Jack. Is only interested in you because you look like his dead wife, Jessica spat. It's pathetic. A charity case playing dress-up. The words hit exactly where they were meant to. Every fear Megan had carried all night, that this was too good to be true, that she didn't belong, that none of this was real, came rushing back at once. Jack stepped forward, furious, ordering Jessica to leave. But it was Eleanor who finished the job, cool and devastating, and I believe my son asked you to leave. Jessica was escorted out, but the damage was already done. Megan, humiliated and hollowed out, said the only thing she could, "Thank you for dinner." And she walked away. Jack followed her outside. "Please don't leave like this," he said. Jessica was right about one thing. Megan told him, her voice shaking. "I don't belong in your world. Tonight was wonderful, but it wasn't real." "It felt real to me," Jack said. She shook her head. He'd been drawn to her, she said, because she reminded him of a woman he lost. That wasn't a foundation for anything real. But Jack stepped closer, refusing to let her have the easy version of the story. "I was drawn to you before my mother ever said Catherine's name," he said. "From the second you walked in that door, nervous, out of place, and refusing to show it, I was already intrigued." He reminded her of everything she'd survived. Her mother, the bills, the years of working herself to the bone just to stay afloat. "I know meeting you tonight feels like finding something I didn't even know I was missing." Megan's eyes filled with tears. "This doesn't happen to people like me," she whispered. "Maybe it doesn't usually," Jack said. "But it's happening now, unless you walk away." Her ride pulled up to the curb. This was the moment. Stay in the fantasy a moment longer, or get in the car and go back to the life she knew. Then Jack did something neither of them expected. He offered her a job, full tuition coverage to finish her degree, a real position in his company's accounting department, built around her classes, her shifts, her life. "This isn't charity," he told her. "It's an investment. And if I'm being honest, I just want the chance to know you better." Megan didn't answer right away. She took his card, climbed into the car, and rode home with her mind racing through everything that had happened that night. Back in her apartment, staring at the goals she'd pinned to her wall years ago, finish a degree, get a real job, help her mom, build a future, Megan's phone buzzed one more time. A message from Jack. "No pressure, but I hope you'll say yes. Not just to the job." She didn't wait. She picked up the phone and called him. "I've spent 3 years putting my life on hold," she told him. "I don't want to waste any more time." "Is that a yes?" he asked, and she could hear him smiling. "Yes," she said, "to the job and to the rest." 6 months later, Megan stood in the lobby of Jack's company, holding her finished accounting degree, surrounded by co-workers celebrating with her. She'd paid off her mother's medical debt. She'd moved into a better home. She'd built, piece by piece, the life she'd once stopped letting herself dream about. That evening, walking along the river with Jack, he stopped and turned to face her. "You know," he said, "Jessica thought she was playing a cool joke on you. Instead, she accidentally introduced me to the love of my life." Then he dropped to one knee. "Megan Reed," he said, pulling a small box from his pocket. "You walked into my life by accident, but staying with you is the most deliberate choice I will ever make. Will you marry me?" Through tears, Megan said the only word that mattered: "Yes." A cool joke designed to break her, and instead it had given her everything. Because sometimes the people who try to tear you down end up handing you the life you were always meant to have.